Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, folks, we've got our first 12-team projection for 2024. We're past week 4 now, so we've got a pretty good idea of where we're at least starting with this playoff. We're going to go down this list and discuss these teams and get an idea where this is headed. And this was projected by ESPN. They've got Texas at number 1. That probably makes sense, really. This is a very strong team. They've got Steve Sarkisian as head coach. They've got 2 excellent quarterbacks, and they have put together a heck of a team. They got a ton of NIL money for some reason. We're not really sure where they get that money, though.
And then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude.
But anyway, they have a bunch of it. So they're sitting in number 1, and the reason they're number 1, they think they're going to win the SEC conference. Because as you know, the top 4 spots are the conference champions in the SEC, ACC, Big 12, and Big 10. So they're projecting them to win the SEC. There's plenty of teams that will have a say in that.
How dare you!
Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee, just to name 3. But this is the projection for today. All right, number 2, they've got Ohio State. That certainly makes sense, assuming they win the Big 10, which I think they will. Michigan, obviously, without Connor Stallions, is not going to be able to probably give them a very good fight. They can't throw the ball. Michigan can only run the ball and play defense. That's not going to work against Ohio State. State has spent $20 million on their NIL this year, and they have brought in some big-time players, including Caleb Downs, who's the best safety in the country, quarterback, brought in Judkins from Ole Miss, which is a fantastic running back. And the list goes on and on. So they have a heck of a team put together. They're not going to be tested very much this year. They're in the Big 10. They got a couple of tough games is about it. So I think they're almost, I don't want to call them a lock, but they're as close to a lock as you could have. Unless maybe an Oregon beats up on them, but Oregon's having their issues right now. So anyway, Ohio State, number 2. I think that makes sense. Number 3, Miami. And I'm going to tell you what, I got them winning the ACC championship as well. I don't think there's really, maybe Clemson can contend with them to win that conference championship, but Clemson's already gotten really whooped by Georgia and sort of exposed them. And Miami, they're almost as good as Georgia. They've got a great quarterback in Cam Ward. They went into the portal and got him. And they've also got a bunch of terrific players they brought in from the portal as well. Miami looked great. They absolutely beat the dog crap out of Florida.
At the swamp.
Yeah, whooped up on them something awful.
Quit hitting yourself! Quit hitting yourself! Quit hitting yourself! Oh, water tastes good, yes! Glub, glub.
And the swamp is not near as dangerous a place as it used to be. I don't think anybody sweats the swamp anymore, which has just got to be killing Florida. And by the way, Gators are getting ready to have their 4th losing season in a row. And let me assure you, everybody in the SEC is upset about it. Absolutely. It's tragic. So anyway, let's move on to our next team. Oh, the Utah Utes. And a lot of people have got them winning the Big 12, which I do too. I think they're going to be fine. I don't think they've got really too many big games in there that they're concerned about. So I'm fine with them at number 4 right now. I think they'll win their conference and get a bye, which is great for them. Great defense, well coached, and they're in a conference they can handle. All right, let's move on to number 5, and that is the Georgia Bulldogs, and they've got them playing Boise State. We're going to talk about Georgia right now. Now, Georgia got a scare from Kentucky, and I've told you for some reason Georgia once or twice a year likes to play with their food. And that's what they did with Kentucky, I think. And Kentucky also, look, they had to play for pride because South Carolina absolutely beat them into the ground, and nobody saw that coming. Kentucky was favored by 10 points in that game, and South Carolina's defense showed up. And Kentucky couldn't do anything. So that's one of the reasons why they don't have them winning the SEC, because they're concerned about Georgia's offense. They looked really crappy in that Kentucky game, and they don't have the wide receivers they've had in the past. They don't have that great tight end or that Conkey or whatever that guy's name was that was really hard to handle. So Georgia's not looking as good on offense. Their defense will be there. Don't worry about their defense. It's going to be a nightmare. So that's why they've got them at number 5, and I think that makes sense. At number 6, you've got Tennessee. Now, Tennessee's 4-0. They're coming off a big win against Oklahoma in Norman at 7:30 at night on a Saturday, and it was as wild as it can be. Everybody I've heard from that was there has said it was absolutely electric. That place was so loud, it was incredible, and Nico handled it really well. And here's the nice thing about Tennessee. Yeah, we're 4-0, but the great thing is the Tennessee fan base, we're just so humble. I don't think it'll be a problem because the one thing we're really good at is not letting things go to our head. So I think we're going to be fine at 4-0.
Well, you just never know when another beast might come down out of the forest. You understand, don't you, Thumb Lou? This is what we call the deadly game. I'm in it for keeps.
Yeah, we don't let it go to our head. We're really, one game at a time. That's all. All right. Number 7 on this list, Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss is really playing well. Jackson Dart's the real deal. He may very well win the Heisman, and their defense is darn good. They went out in the portal, and they got a bunch of really good players, brought in some big-time talent. That's really been their weakness. They've always been able to score the ball. Kiffin's really good about that. And the biggest problem with Ole Miss is Kiffin's already started flirting with Florida, just like he did with Auburn, which is incredibly stupid. You would think he would have learned from that because that's going to upset his players at Ole Miss, and it's just, I don't get it. But he just can't help it. It's who he is. And Florida has given Ole Miss zero respect. They're acting like, hey, if we offer this guy the job, he's coming. We don't even care about Ole Miss and their fan base. They're nothing to us. This is how Florida sees themselves and Ole Miss.
Hey, Spike, how about we chase cars, huh? Does that sound like fun? Nah. Yeah, that wouldn't be no fun.
Total disrespect to Ole Miss. Zero. We'll see what happens. I think Lane should stay. He's under zero pressure. He has very good NIL, and he can get the players he needs there. And he runs the show. You come to Florida and Gainesville, that is an ultimate pressure cooker. That's why Urban Meyer left. He couldn't take it. And he won 2 national championships for him. And they fired the next 2 coaches who won the SEC East because that wasn't good enough. And that led to Billy Napier, and we know how that went. So anyway, Ole Miss at number 7, I can see that. I don't see them winning the SEC, but I see them getting in. They've got a very easy schedule. All right, number 8, the Oregon Ducks. Look, I'm not impressed with Oregon at all. They have struggled already in their first 4 games. Barely beat Boise State by 3 points. Beat Idaho by 10. Idaho. So I don't know about the Ducks. They don't look that good to me. They've got them in there because, they've got a ton of talent. They're not playing very well. I wouldn't be shocked if they get surprised and actually somebody does defeat them that has no business beating them, and that'll kill them in the playoff. Plus, they've got to play Ohio State, and Ohio State's going to whoop up on them. So anyway, Oregon at number 8. Number 9, they got the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, Alabama struggled a little bit with USF for about 3 quarters. It was a really tight game, but then they whooped up on Wisconsin. Alabama at number 9, I can see that. They've got them not winning the conference, but making it there. We're going to find out a lot about Alabama, Kalen DeBoer and his new offense, and all this entire system based on what they do against Georgia. That will be probably the toughest defense they'll go up against unless it's Tennessee. So Alabama at number 9 makes sense to me, and I'm really looking forward to that ball game. It is the premier game coming up this weekend. It's a battle of the Titans. Absolutely. If you're not fired up for this game, you just don't care about football. All right, number 10, Penn State. Now, Penn State's been the team that can't beat Ohio State, can't beat Michigan, but beat everybody else. They have an excellent chance of getting into this playoff. The only tough game they've got is Ohio State, but they barely beat Bowling Green. They could screw around and miss this playoff, which would be very frustrating for the Penn State fan base. They have been on the outside looking in for a long time, and they've kind of been that second-string quarterback that never gets to play. So we'll see what happens with Penn State, but I'm fine where they've got them at number 10. They have a very legitimate chance of making the playoff. Number 11 is Missouri. Missouri has looked like crap in the last 2 games. They barely beat, Boston College? And then they had to hope that Vanderbilt screwed up in overtime, which they did, to beat them by 3. So I think Missouri Tigers, I think they're a paper tiger, honestly.
I said ball!
Yeah. I don't think they're for real this year. They were last year. This year, I don't think so. And I hate that my Tennessee Vols aren't playing them this year because I know how important it is to stand on business.
We stand on business, John.
So anyway, Missouri at number 11. We'll see. I don't think they make it. They got a super easy schedule. It's just shocking. But somebody's going to trip them up. They're just not for real this year. Maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe they're just really struggling for some reason. They'll get it together, but I doubt it. Plus, they lost their defensive coordinator to LSU because they wouldn't pay up the bucks. Some people say that's where he wanted to go home. I question that. Anyway, number 12 is Boise State. Now, they got Boise in there because they think they'll be the highest-rated Group of 5 conference champion.
Whoop-de-doo.
One of the reasons because they played Oregon pretty tough, and their conference is easy. So Boise State, I could see that. They're going to be a team that everybody's mad at because they get in because they're not going to be a number 12 team. They're really not. It's just they're going to whoop up on a bunch of easy teams, and they'll have a good record, probably 11-1, and they'll end up slipping in, and then they'll get whooped in the first game. But a very deserving team won't get in. And eventually we're going to go to 16 teams anyway on this because these schools need more money, and there's tons of money in a playoff. And I've shown you that chart where each team in certain conferences are getting a ton of money from the 12-team playoff. You go to a 16-team, it'll even be more. So anyway, that's our 12-team playoff and how ESPN is seeing it. And I think that makes, pretty good sense after 4 weeks. Every week they'll be updating it, and we'll know a lot more. This weekend coming up is going to be huge. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's remember to continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 hit that little button right there. Doesn't cost you a dime, helps me out. I would certainly appreciate it. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. The algorithm. Who knows? Anyway, we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.